Before I became a virtual assistant, I always wanted to do book launches. And once I became a virtual assistant, and I would go into the different Facebook groups and see if authors were requesting for PAs. And once I sat back and learned everything, I was like, nope, I don't, this is not particularly what I would like to do. I would like to do it a little differently. So when you say past self, it's cool to me in my situation. It's cool to look for those ideal clients as, like you said, if you want to be a teacher. And for myself, I wanted to do book launches, but make sure that you fully understand it. Because that was something I didn't do. I didn't fully understand. I just had an idea and went with it, and then learned that, nope, that would not be my ideal client because it's not particularly what I wanted to do in my VA business.
Welcome to Two VAs and a Mic, your guide to making money and serving your community. In our podcast, we'll help you learn about the journey of monetizing your skills and providing your services professionally, all from the comfort of your home.
We also will talk to our business owners, authors, writers, CEOs, and solopreneurs who may use or benefit from using a VA in their business. Boil all that down to two VAs and a mic, and then mix them together with two different perspectives, flared with expertise.
What do you get? Shauntá Harris, founder of Shauntá's VA, LLC.
And Lovelee Brooks, founder of Lovelee Occasions and Etc., LLC. Hello and welcome to the room where we're talking about today how to find your ideal client. This room is hosted by the Virtual Assistant Alliance Club, where we talk about all things virtual assisting to encourage, educate, and inspire with our tips, tricks, and experiences to elevate any and all virtual assistants on this journey. If you are not already a member of this club, please click on the little green house at the very top. My name is Lovelee Brooks, and I am the founder of Lovelee Occasions and Etc., a virtual assistant agency where we specialize in operations and launch support, where we alleviate the business owners from back in day-to-day management so they can focus on their zone of genius and scaling their business. I am also a coach for new and inspiring virtual assistants, and I help them build sustainable and thriving virtual assistant careers. So I also want to take a moment to have the other moderator introduce themselves.
Good morning again. My name is Shauntá Harris. I'm the founder of Shauntá's VA. I specialize in newsletters, blogs, and privacy policies and low content books.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about how to find your ideal client. I think that is one of those foundational pieces that you actually should have in place before you really start even marketing or pushing yourself out there to get clients. But to be honest, I didn't. And I learned a lot about how I wanted to find my ideal client or what was a good ideal client for me as I went through the journey. But talk about so you guys can just avoid some of that time, some of that wasted effort. Because if you don't know who is ideal for you, you will have a hard time marketing to them, finding how you're going to solve their problem. And quite honestly, that is what people are more concerned about. This is a result driven world. Well, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, but it's not a process appreciation world. So, when people come to you or you go to people, they just really want to know how you're going to solve their problem. And then this also has to do with, because I'm also all about making sure you're creating a sustainable virtual assistant career versus just a hobby or something where you're, 1 minute you're doing really well and maybe the next minute you're not doing as well. Income is something we have to talk about. If you like working with maybe social justice in nonprofit ways, that is very admirable. But you will have to take the income on what they are able to pay in consideration when you're also talking about how many clients maybe you will need to sustain your business. So all of those things plays a part on why you need to know who your ideal client is. Do you have anything to add to that, Shauntá?
As far as finding your ideal client, I would always go into the Facebook groups. So when I first started my VA business, I was just a general VA, and I really didn't know what I wanted my business to be. So as I would go through different groups, I would try different tasks or teach myself different things that people were requesting. And then I would find through that, I would find what I would like to do and what was good at. And then those particular places or those particular groups is I would just go in those groups and find my ideal client there.
Exactly. So I was doing a lot of the same thing. I came in doing event management and launching people's events because I was a event planner before COVID happened. So, and I did it for a company. So on a corporate basis, and I just decided to do it virtual. And honestly, at that point, I was just kind of taking any and everybody in who just wanted my services. So I did have the pleasure of working with all different types of people who had different needs, who were in different levels. But since then, we have definitely went to a more niche down look. And I think sometimes when you hear people say you need to find your ideal client, they're not exactly sure what that means or how you're supposed to do that. So I broke it down today into three different categories for people to think about when they're talking about how do I find my ideal client. So the first one would be a client maybe that you already have, that is your dream client. And this would be something to the way of I enjoy what I'm doing with that person. I enjoy how that person aligns around my similar beliefs as far as like how the business should be ran. I enjoy how that person treats others. I enjoy what I get paid from what I'm doing on that dream client. So that's always one look when you're like, okay, how do I find my ideal client? One category would be to look at the clients you have now and see what you like about those clients and, why are they so appealing? The next category would be your past self. So when I think about mentoring other VAs, my ideal client is actually in that category. So that would be, I'll use that just example. When I first started my VA business, I was lost, I was confused, I wasn't quite sure how to do certain things. So it was my past self. So my ideal client is my past self. It could be go to other situations. Maybe you're overwhelmed mom or overwhelmed dad. It doesn't matter at one point, and now you're not at that place anymore. And you would like to help people who are in that place get to where you're at now. So that would be the second category you want to look at. Is my ideal client maybe someone that is in my past self, but has basically experienced things in my past that I have been able to overcome and be successful at. And now I want to do the same for other people in those similar situations. And the third one is just maybe someone you haven't met yet. If you don't have any clients, it may be really hard for you to say, my ideal client is someone I've already worked with because you do not have those clients yet. But you may still have an idea if you just want to work with teachers, because maybe one day you want to be a teacher, or somehow teachers affected maybe your kids' life and you want to work with them and you like to help them with their planning and so forth. So you don't have to obviously have already had these clients, but maybe there's certain skills and qualities and attributes that you look at and you're like, you know what? I think I want to stick with this industry. I think I know why I want to stick with this industry. It could be a social justice thing. There's many people now who wants to work with people of color and help them advance more in the world and help them with their mission. So that may not be particularly your past self, but maybe you see a certain mission that you want to see go forward and you want clients and you want to work with them because you like the mission. And then you would just want to go back and look at to those attributes that they have that you think would be your ideal client. So, yes, those are the three categories. When you're thinking about how do I find my ideal client, I always look for clients you already work with and you enjoy. Then you want to look at those attributes and characteristics of why that client is so appealing so you can find more. And then your past self. So, again, that would just be if you are somebody and you have been through, a certain level in your life and you went through those levels in your life and now you are successful and you want to help other people on that level, that would be my second category. And the third category would be just somebody that maybe you haven't thought about, or maybe you don't have them as a client, but you just see them as somebody you would want to work with. So it could be a certain industry, such as the teaching or education industry, or maybe you know that you want to work with people of color. I think that was one that I gave. Maybe you want to work with people with disabilities. So it's just you haven't maybe don't have that client yet, but maybe you like the cause, maybe you like the mission, and that is something that appeals to you. So that's the reason why you will want to look into that category. And Shantae, you wanted to say something?
I'll comment on the past self. Now, before became a virtual assistant, I always wanted to do book launches. And once I became a virtual assistant and I would go into the different Facebook groups and see if authors were requesting for PAs. And once I sat back and learned I was like, no, I don't, this is not particularly what I would like to do. I would like to do it a little differently. So when you say past self, it's cool to me in my situation. It's cool to look for those ideal clients as, like you said, if you want to be a teacher, and for myself, I wanted to do book launches, but make sure that you fully understand it, because that was something I didn't do. I didn't fully understand. I just had an idea and went with it, and then learned that nope, that would not be my ideal client because it's not particularly what I wanted to do in my VA business.
Exactly. And then again, like I said, sometimes you definitely think that one client is your ideal client, and then you start working with them and you realize, while they still may be a wonderful person, that's not something that excites your passion. And it looks like we have April now up here at the stage. So I would love to hear what her thoughts are on those three categories I gave or any of your shared experiences.
Good morning, ladies. Lovely. Thank you and Shauntá for having this room today. I'm gonna give a back spiel because I've been listening to a couple of the rooms that you guys have been in before. So I've been kind of taking notes all morning. So I have like questions that I have for you, ladies, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, ladies, be honest with me. Okay. So I've been in corporate staffing for almost 10 years, right? And so last year, I was in the process of building my first home. So I was like, I need to make some extra money. So I was like, what am I good at that I don't mind doing? And I was like, well, if I can staff for an agency for 7 years, and then if I can manage it the other three, I'm pretty sure I can do this myself. So I was like, maybe I'll start like a virtual assisting business. And so I've had a nonprofit for 2 years. So people have been able to see my work ethic, throughout those 2 years. So of course, when I made the post, everybody was reaching out, hey, can you help me do this? Can you help me do that? And during that time, I didn't understand that I needed to hone in on what my actual niche was. So I was basically taking on all the clients that came to me. And of course, what happens? You get burnt out. Well, I really didn't get burnt out because I really love what I'm doing. So I guess you could say you have those one or two clients that don't pay and you provide the service. So I've learned like a lot of best practices along the way. But um, I like what you just said, Lovely, about finding that client that looks best for you. And I like the past self because my biggest goal is to always be an asset to the client that I'm, going to attain now, and just making sure that it's a good fit. But for me, guys, I want to make sure that it's a good fit, and I want to make sure that because I'm very intentional and I'm very passionate. I feel as though if you're paying me for the service, I'm gonna give you my personal time management. I'm gonna make sure that I'm very responsive to what you guys are needing. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm rambling, but I really need your help with this. I'm getting to the point, okay? Long story short, okay. So finally, in February, I was like, Lord, just help me find that one client that I need. Help me to hone in on this basic group of people that I wanted. So then I was like, maybe I want to target realtors because they know what they need done. They can see me that task and I can knock that task out. So I ended up picking up a young lady, right? And she has like 5 different businesses that she's trying to run, right? I gave her my number. The number was too high for her. So I was like, well, I do need a client this month. So I'm going to try to work with her. So I did that. And after 2 weeks have gone by, ladies, I've done literally everything except for think of signing all these contracts, these building businesses myself. And last night she kind of was very rude to me. And I was like, you know what? I don't want, this is my business and I don't have to take this verbal abuse. I've literally done everything for your 5 businesses for $400 a month. Absolutely not. Okay, you guys give me feedback now.
Boundary.
Ew.
Yes.
I'm gonna let Shauntá
Boundaries.
go first because
You have
yeah.
you have to set your boundaries in the beginning. As you are figuring out what your ideal client is, you have to figure out for yourself what you will tolerate, what and how you want your business to run. So if she's giving you all type of tasks, you know, and you were in the mind frame of I need to get a client for this month. You know what I'm saying? So having those boundaries of just settling for I'll take this for now and then have to deal with whatever you had to deal with doesn't feel good. And that means not all money is good, right? So when you set your boundaries in the beginning, your client at that point knows, okay, I can only go this far and she's only going to do X amount of tasks for this amount of money, you know? So I'm just going to stop there. Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna be just a little gentle on you because I think honestly this is something we all have done. So let's just start there. What you're talking about is nothing unusual, and that's actually how I started this room, was saying that I found my ideal client really after I found a whole bunch of clients that I did not necessarily felt like I was aligned to. And this is why it's important, if you know these type things, you kind of write them down. It could also be an income thing. So demographically, you want to make sure you know, is your ideal client a man or a female? And just because you say one does not mean you're not going to attract the other. So you're not cutting yourself short. You're going to want to know the income level, and you're going to want to know what kind of industry, if possible. Those are 3 main factors that is really going to affect, you know, how much do I have to struggle to ask this person for the money I'm asking for? And then men and women, their language and understanding or thought process is different. So that's the reason why you want to know the demographics of the gender as well. And again, that does not mean just because you say I want to work with female entrepreneurs, you will not attract a male entrepreneur, because we both genders do, we have masculine and feminine traits. So you're still going to attract whoever it is that you need to attract. Boundaries, yes, as Shauntá said, is number one. I just had someone ask me this question over the weekend. How long do you give it if you feel like you have a client and it's not quite working out? I personally do the 3 strikes you're out method. I don't believe in stressing myself out. You are on the internet streets. There are 1,000,001 different clients, and I understand the whole thought pattern of you have bills to pay, but you also have to look at it, when you're spending your time with the wrong client, then you don't have the time to attract and bring on the correct client. So you're actually, quote unquote, somewhat wasting your time in a way. So I would strongly just suggest that where you're at now with that particular client, that you professionally set your boundaries, let her know what you are not liking. As far as the pay goes, this is always interesting to me. If someone does, we don't negotiate prices. I would love for everyone to kind of get that part in your head. We just don't negotiate prices. When you go into Walmart, you can't say, well, you know what, I can't afford it. Can I give you 40 cents for this? It doesn't work that way, you know? And we are a business. If you're truly wanting to make this a business and live off of it, you do have to stand firm in that. So make sure. Now, let's just say, because I am one of those heartfelt people, your heart is really speaking to someone, then what I suggest is you create a stair step method. So take whatever it is that you're willing to take at your lowest, and you give them a time frame, 3 months. In 3 months, the pay will go to this. In 6 months, the pay will go to this. And you have them sign it at the initiation of the contract, which is whenever you start, because you should always have a contract before you ever start working. And that way you both have understanding that this is how much the pay is going to be in 6 months, in 3 months. I can't stay at this level forever, so you get a chance to see my value. I'm going to compromise with you. But that way it also eliminates you constantly having to have a conversation about, you know, I'm not feeling this. I really need more money, and that kind of thing. So I would suggest putting that in place if you have somebody who is truly, truly speaking to your heart, because you can't pay your bills off of somebody's inability to afford your your prices. That's just kind of how it is. And we do have to be realistic about that as much as we want to be nice. You're not in business just so you can say, I have a business. You're also in business to create whatever lifestyle that you want to create. Was that helpful, April?
Yes, yes, ladies. Shantae, I'll start with you. My friends for Christmas, they gifted me a book, Resetting Your Boundaries, something like that. I think that's what it's called, but that's something that I absolutely need to work on. And I actually stood up for myself, ladies. I'm like, no, this just isn't working for me. It's not serving me at all. But yes, thank you, ladies, for the feedback.
No problem. So, Deborah, thanks for coming on the stage with us. Do you have any questions or any experiences you want to add to the conversation of how to find your ideal client?
Not per se a question, but I would definitely something that you just now said, which I totally agree with, is that there's always many different ways to dealing with either situation or your business, and like you said, what might work for one person may not work for the next person. So I definitely want to encourage everybody that's in the room, because I know when it comes to building a business, it can be a little bit difficult sometimes, connecting or finding that ideal client, the clientele that you want to get that is going to pay what we call pay our worth, or pay the price that we're looking for. And so sometimes that can be difficult. And a lot of times we feel like, we have to take down in business. And I just want to let everybody know in the room that that is not the case. There are times where you are, when you're just getting started in business, sometimes we may have to scale a little bit back, but like Lovely had mentioned earlier, you have to still make plans where you increase and you build up from there. So I always tell people, especially when I'm, mentoring and teaching, I let them know you may start right here at this level because you're kind of getting your feet wet, you're getting in the door, and you need to get, those clients, those reviews, those bookings. And sometimes people just need money. Like, just, I mean, in all honesty, sometimes finances is so rough that at the moment you might just, I need this client, I need the finances, I need the money. But you got to keep in the forefront of your mind what God has given you, as your passion and your vision, what He has given you. So you cannot stay there. So there's always a starting point, but you have to always be willing to expand and elevate to that next level. So don't be discouraged if you have to take that client for a little bit less, and that's just for the moment. But just be prepared and know, okay, you know what? I'll do this for 3 months. Just like Lovelee said, I totally agree with that. I'll do this for 3 months, but you know what? I gotta elevate my prices. So I wanted to share that with the room, because I think that that's really important. And don't try to keep up with. I know social media sometimes can kind of. I tell people it makes us a little kind of crazy in the head sometimes, because we're looking at what everybody else is producing, what everybody else is doing. And so I just want to encourage you guys also, don't just focus on what you see that's out there in social media world. You got to focus on what God has given you, that the vision that he has given you, the purpose that he has given you to do what you do. And so it may look all glamorous sometime and like other people are winning and you're not winning. That's not true. That's not so. You have to just take those same steps that other people have taken. It's baby steps, and then you go to toddler, then you go to adolescent, and then it's, you got to take those steps to success. But if God gave it to you, I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Yes, I loved everything you said, Deborah. That was absolutely fabulous. April, is there something you wanted to add to that? I saw you just come off your mic for a minute.
Oh no, I was just absolutely agreeing with everything that she was saying. That's good. That's good info.
Absolutely. And it is hard to look at others sometimes and not want to compare yourself, but you have to understand that you are on your own journey. You were given your own vision and you are set to serve your clients in your own way. And when you're really focused on that, that is actually how you will be able to level up and scale your business and deal with be able to find your ideal client. And yes, I am one of those. If you guys have questions, especially about the whole scaling, because I do see that a lot. I see a lot of people, and I totally get it. You need those payments. You need that money. You got to pay rent. You got to pay bills. But it's so important for you to stay on course, and it will come. And if you don't, then you might find yourself in a situation where you're burnt out because you're not with your ideal client. You're not with the person who brings out the best in you and your passion, and you're drained because you didn't really want to do this anyway. And you start feeling like some of us feel in some of those 9 to 5 jobs we're really trying to get away from. So I always try to be mindful of that too. You build your business for different kinds of freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, but also just so you can be where you're supposed to be aligned, and be happy. So I get it. Like Deborah said, she was talking about the whole sometimes you got to pay that bill. And I see that a lot. I see where people are kind of in a desperate way to do what they have to do at that moment. But also remember, you can't stay there, because if you do, you're going to look at your business, not recognize it anymore, and you're not going to want to do it. So then that kind of defeats the purpose altogether. So I also want to I want to go back and just recap some of the 3 categories I look at when I'm thinking about trying to find my ideal client. Because like many other people, I didn't know how to find my ideal client. And when I got started, I was just doing any and everything basically that people was asking me to do. So my 3 categories are, the first one is look at the clients you have now. Look at the clients that you enjoy working with. And you want to look at those characteristics to see, why do you enjoy working with them. Then my second one is your past self. So I'm going to explain this just a little bit because it may seem a little weird when I just say your past self. But this would be any experience you went through, you learned from, you grew from, and you want to do and share the same with others so they do not have to quote unquote struggle as long or as much as you did when they started off on a similar journey. So for my mentoring, it would be when I first started being a VA. So my ideal clients is partly just my past self. And that would be when I first started and how confused I was, and, where do you start? And that may be your ideal client. You may be talking to your past self. And then last but not least would be a person that you haven't met. Maybe they're not a client of yours yet, or maybe you don't have any clients, so you can't really reflect that way. But it's just a person that you believe you would want to work with. And you want to make sure that you're looking at the industry they're in. You want to look at their gender. You want to look at maybe is it important that they have a certain mission, but some of the demographics you definitely want to try to pinpoint, if you can, earlier than later, is the gender. You're going to market differently in most cases for men and women. And that does not mean that if you choose to say you want to work with female business owners, that does not mean you're not going to attract male business owners. It just means you're going to be targeting on the female, and who will come will come. You also want to look at age. You're going to speak to someone who is maybe 20 years old differently than you would speak to a 45-year-old. So that's why it's important for you to know the age of your ideal client, or the age range, I would say. You want to know income. So you definitely want to know income. This has a lot to do with when people are saying, hey, how do I get those 4 and 5-figure months? Well, it just depends. If your ideal client is a college student and that's your audience, which it could be, and there's nothing wrong with that, you have to also accept that they may not be in the same financial, well, they're not going to be in a same financial income bracket as someone that's, let's say, corporate. So you have to look at those things too. So when you start thinking about your ideal client, make sure you look at those 3 categories. If you're just completely lost on how to even think about who your ideal client is, then think about, the demographics, and then you want to go from there. That's going to help you as far as where would you find them. College students are going to usually be hanging out in a different platform, even on the internet, than a corporate business person would. So that's why your ideal client and knowing your ideal client makes such a big difference in your business. You're able to target to them, and so forth. There are other things you want to look at too, though. You also want to look at your passions. What do you enjoy doing? Um, if you enjoy graphic designs, but you maybe don't enjoy so much of data entry, I'm not sure if I would necessarily then target real estate agents. They do a lot of also the data entry side and paperwork as well. So you want to look at your actual gifts. You want to look at what you like doing. Do you like organizing? Do you like putting things together? Are you tech savvy? So make sure you look at that. And then I would also say you need a section where you're looking at your ideal client's values. I know for me, it would be very hard for me to collaborate and work with a person whose values are just really completely, totally different than mine. So maybe your value is that you talk to people with respect at all times. You don't want to work for someone who just, feels like they just need the job done. And they're not necessarily mindful of how they speak to someone. That's probably not going to be a good partnership. So you do also want to look at those soft skills as well, as far as, okay, well, how who do I want to work for as far as what their values are? And it's completely okay for people to have whatever values they have, but that doesn't mean that it will create the ideal work partnership for you and your business. So just make sure you keep those things in mind too. And Shauntá, April, Deborah, do any of you guys have anything you want to add to what I just said?
No, you're providing great feedback, and it's absolutely aligning with everything that I've been working on for my business. So, great job, Lovely.
Awesome, awesome. I definitely try to be helpful. I am also, just like anybody else, I'm still on my journey. So I am still progressing. I am still learning. But I do always want to make sure as I'm learning, I'm giving that feedback back to my quote unquote past self. I am a firm believer. If you guys come back and follow me for a while, you'll realize I'm very money minded. So I am a firm believer that time is money and money is time. So if I am able to help you guys as far as, hey, I can save you time, please believe that that's also going to save you or save you money, whether that means money on mistakes that you hopefully won't make, or whether that means time that you have to make more money. So I am always thinking about that as well, and some of the choices that I make, because I am a single mother of two beautiful girls, and I have all the bills to pay for. So as much as I love some people and I would love to work with them, I just have to be mindful of that I also have things to run as well. And then I would also say, when you guys are looking at all of this, just have an idea of what you want. Now, I always tell people you need to know your why first. You need to know what it looks like for you to be successful. You need to know your ideal client. All of these things you actually really would want to know as much as possible before you ever even start going out and pitching to your ideal client. It's going to be a lot easier for you to get where you want to go when you know what where you want to go looks like. It's kind of like a real journey. If I know I want to go to Florida because I want to be by the palm trees, then I don't want to be going towards South Dakota. In which case, if you don't know where you want to end up, you're just going to be going out there and you're going to be going to South Dakota, New York, Mexico, all these places before you ever get on the road of going to Florida. So make sure you know your why. Make sure you know what you want to accomplish with your business. Make sure you have actual goals that are measurable as well, that you can see, okay, I'm getting closer to where I want to be. I have reached where I want to be. And then have a goal after that and be like, okay, I've made it to Florida. Now I want to go to Bahamas. And that may be going back and serving my community, or, giving back in some way. So Shantae, do you have anything you want to add to any of the information I just put out?
The company, your ideal client's company culture. I definitely agree with that. What your ideal client values goes a long way. It'll let you know if you're going to be comfortable working with them, or if you have to shift. Sometimes when you have your clients and they don't believe in everything that you do, it's still cool to work with them as long as their business flows in a manner in which you agree with. Now, when it comes to speaking and communication, that is another thing I would look at with an ideal client when you're doing your onboarding, or even if you're just interviewing them. How you all speak to each other right then and there sometimes determines how it's going to go. You're going to get a certain feeling, or you're just going to be like, this is not for me, right? Just basically, when you're communicating with your ideal client and figuring out their values and understanding their values, it'll go a long way. It'll just go a long way if it flows with you and your business.
I agree with that completely. And I think also I would say that there are different types of, I almost want to say business styles. That's really not the word I'm looking for. But you have your more visionary person and you have your more detailed and technical person. And just understand that they think differently and they see things differently. Personally, I am a very visionary person. So my team is made up of a lot of detailed technical people, and you need them both. They complement each other really well. But because I know I am a visionary person, number one, I have all these thoughts and plans, and then I have plans, and then I moved on to the next plan, and I get excited. I'm like, oh, but we can do this, this, and this. So thank goodness my team is more technical, because they're the ones that pull me back, slow me down, be like, look. But before we can get to step one and make your vision a reality, Lovely, we also need to make sure that you did XYZ, and then under XYZ we have step one, two, three, and under step one, two, three we got step A, B, and C. So I don't miss anything, and so I'm looking the best possible when I go out. So I think it's also helpful if you know your own style. Are you more of a detailed, what do they call them, type A personality? Or are you more of a visionary type person? Because that also, I think, plays a lot as far as how you communicate with your ideal client, and how you're what is ideal for you to have when you're thinking about your ideal client. Because some people, it frustrates them to work with a person that maybe has a lot of visions, but they do well getting their task in a very bullet point way. I feel like I'm a very contextual person, so I can't just do bullet points. I'll do bullet points, and then I'm gonna have a whole paragraph with that. And then some people, they just want the bullet statement. So I think it's important too that we are comfortable assessing ourselves, so we know what is the best fit for our ideal client and vice versa, or what we want and how we can best serve our ideal client, I should say. So, did you want anybody on the stage or anyone in the room that wants to come on stage and wants to add any shares when we're talking about how to find your ideal client?
I would like to add, Lovely, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. I just wanted to add to what you pretty much already spoke about, but I wanted to add on that when you are looking or for anybody, not just Lovely you, but anybody, when you're looking for those clients that you want to pay your price, or or attract the clients that will be willing to pay what you know that you're worth, I just want to let you know, make sure that your brand matches what you're asking people to pay. Because sometimes what happens is we're looking for clients to pay us $2,000, $3,000 for services. And then when that client looks at your page or looks at your brand, looks at what you're putting out, it doesn't quite match what you might be asking for. And so what happens is, when you're like, oh, I don't understand why they try to talk my price down and bring it down, sometimes you got to reevaluate how you're presenting your business. So sometimes when you want to attract more, you have to make certain changes and certain shifts in your company, in your business, that's going to represent what you're asking for. And so I always try to tell people that that's really important. Sometimes people are like, I don't have it, I don't know how to do that. But you have to show, clients want to see that you're also invested in what you believe that, your purpose to do. So if you're, whatever it is, if you could be doing cakes, designs, you can be doing virtual assistant. How do I know when you asking for $2,000 for your services? How do I know that that's what you're going to produce for me? So I think just kind of looking at that. Now, don't take the information, and sometimes we take information and then we like beat ourselves down. This is not a beat down, because sometimes we go, oh man, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough. We beat ourselves down. That is not what this is about. It is about, in business, we have to be strong enough to be able to evaluate where we are. What am I producing? I'm looking, okay, God, I want to make this amount of money. How do I shift so that this way I can also match what I'm asking for? And so I just want to, again, encourage everybody that's in the room to just kind of look that over. Check out your social media. How am I producing my social media? Is my social media going to attract? Because, we in a whole different type of world now. So a lot of stuff is done digital. So how are you presenting yourself in the digital world, in the social media world? How are you attracting those people? Do you need to freshen up your website? Do you need to do a small little, photo shoot? What do I have to do to attract the next level of clientele? So I wanted to just say that, and I pass the mic back to you.
That was so good. Thank you so much, Deborah. I 110% agree, because once you start asking for more for your services, the expectation and the bar definitely raises on the other side as well. So yes, 110%. And some people think, oh well, so and so has a lot of money, this, and this, but they still want to make sure that they are seriously getting the value for the money that you're asking for. Because in some cases, they're like, yeah, but I can go on to the next competitor, pay them the same price or maybe even more, and they're going to give me the results that I want. So, yes, as you're asking for more, you need to come packaged and present yourself as more. And that kind of ties into, for me, making sure that you're investing in yourself, making sure that you're always looking at your business, like Deborah said, looking at your business, looking at yourself, seeing where you need to improve on, what you can improve on, how you're going to improve on it. Again, it's a journey. So, usually you don't just wake up, and I say usually because there's always that exception to the rule. But I know for me, I was not able to just wake up and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to get a $4,000 month out there. It did take a lot of investing. It took a lot of self reflecting. Where am I lacking? Where's my brand lacking? Where is my company lacking? How can I improve? And then as you add value to yourself in your business, then that's when you're able to charge more for the value that you're bringing. So I know a lot of people also, they do have a hard time maybe looking at, okay, I want this, and this, but it's just the same way. You have to package yourself as something that somebody would want to pay those funds for. So yes, as you grow, please make sure you are constantly looking back and seeing how you can improve in your business and every aspect of your business, because they're watching. You're definitely good enough and you can do it. We all have been equipped with talents to serve our ideal clients, and we have everything it takes. But you do have to invest. You have to take care of yourself from the inside out throughout your business to make sure that that message is being seen, so you can attract your ideal client as you're asking for more and more. And I don't even want to say as you're asking for more and more. You really should do that anyway, regardless of, whoever your ideal client is. Because some people, I want to be mindful, just because I know some people, they want to have their ideal client maybe be a group of people that maybe can't afford necessarily bigger checks. But of course, there's different ways to package and still be able to make those four-figure months. But that's a whole nother room. So I feel like I'm starting to go down a rabbit hole. So I'm going to stop right there, because we're talking about our ideal client today. Shauntá, is there something you want to add to that?
Nope. I think you and Deborah did an awesome job.
Great. So you guys make sure that you are sharing this to any and all of your virtual assistant friends, anybody who you think might want to be a virtual assistant, or even business owners that you think would be able to benefit from having a virtual assistant, or to use virtual assistants, because we do talk on both different sides.
Thank you for listening to Two VAs and a Mic. I'm Shauntá Harris.
And I'm Lovely Brooks. Until next
Until
time,
next time,
peace.
peace.